The most compelling aspect of the story in Batman Arkham Knight for me was Batman's ongoing hallucinations of the Joker. I had heard a number of complaints throughout the years, starting shortly after Arkham City came out, about the fact that the Arkham series keeps using Joker as the main villain for its games. Batman has arguably the greatest rogues gallery of any superhero, so why keep falling back to Joker when you could give someone else the spotlight? I personally never minded the fact that Joker was the main villain of Arkham Asylum, City, and Origin. I love that character, and it made sense to me that in situations where there are a whole bunch of villains all with their own plans, which is common in superhero games to increase the number of boss fights and overall length, the Joker would eventually outdo them all and prove himself as the greatest danger, like he did in Arkham City. However, I could certainly see where those making the complaints were coming from. It wasn't until Arkham Knight brought Joker back in the way that it did that I realized the Arkham series didn't keep falling back on Joker because he's the best or most popular Batman villain, or because they couldn't write a good story with someone else as the main antagonist, but rather because the Arkham series was meant as a saga chronicling the relationship between Batman and Joker. Despite how pivotal Joker is to the story Rocksteady is telling, and the attention to detail they have always shown in regards to the Batman property in their games, the way they set up Joker's return involves a complete misunderstanding of what Joker is. The story says that Batman and 4 others are all turning into the Joker because they have been infected with his blood. Joker somehow got a bunch of his blood samples into a hospital's blood bank before he died, despite the fact that he didn't mention doing that in Arkham City, and Batman didn't need additional motivation to come up with a cure as Joker infects him as well. Joker's blood was only harmful because of the Titan disease he got from using too much of Bane's Titan serum at the end of Arkham Asylum, and Batman developed a cure for that. Apparently curing the Titan disease wasn't enough for 5 of the infected who somehow got a new disease from Joker's blood that turns you into the Joker. And herein lies the real problem. When did Joker become a vampire? Why on earth does Joker's blood make you become Joker, or at least give you a similar type of insanity? Plus, what kind of blind luck is it for Joker that he infects people with one disease, and then turns out his blood is an even worse second disease that no one knew about and medical science has never seen anything like? This plot element was a terrible way to try and bring in characters to give Joker's legacy a physical presence and make it feel like he wasn't ever going to be truly gone, which is something that should have been covered by Red Hood instead. The Joker hallucinations start after Batman is given a lethal dose of Scarecrow's fear toxin. Based on this scene, one at the end, it appears that Joker's blood makes Batman completely immune to the usual damage caused by Scarecrow's toxin, and it now only serves to hasten the process of Joker's blood turning Batman into Joker. That doesn't make any sense and seems to imply that Joker has a natural immunity to Scarecrow's toxin like poison ivy, which he doesn't. It would have made more sense to lower the amount of fear toxin Batman was exposed to and have the hallucinations and behavioral changes be caused by temporary neurological damage as a side effect of his exposure. You could then say that he now believes and starts behaving as if he is becoming Joker because that is Batman's greatest fear. Previous Batman stories have brought up the potential of Batman having a psychological break and becoming just like Joker. Some have even gone so far as to say that both Batman and Joker know it could happen, and that's one of the reasons why Batman won't kill, and the main reason Joker is obsessed with him. This would not only allow for all of the Joker-related events or hallucinations throughout the game to still happen while making sense, it would also make Scarecrow responsible for them. That way, Scarecrow doesn't feel as much like the awkward third wheel of the villains, as Joker and Arkham Knight are the only ones interacting with Batman for most of the game. It even would have helped the game's ending. The end of the Joker story in Arkham Knight was an amazing experience from a game design standpoint. Seeing Batman lose himself to the Joker inside his mind and playing as the Joker in his own Batmobile, then as a third-person shooter, and finally a first-person shooter as you try to destroy all the statues of Batman popping up around you was very engaging. It brings you into Batman's mental struggle to regain control by making us the thing he is trying to take control back from, an unusual position for the player. Yet from a story standpoint, it is bizarre and jarring that the key to beating the unbeatable Joker disease is not any sort of cure, but a sudden, unprovoked onset of sheer willpower. Batman is cured because he wants to be. Why didn't that work earlier when the disease was less developed? Had it all been a result of temporary neurological damage from the fear toxin messing with his psychological state, it would make sense that he would eventually be able to recover on his own. Batman's brain making a physical recovery would have left the hallucinations as just a lingering psychological problem due to his own stress, doubt, and paranoia. Overcoming that through mental fortitude and determination makes sense, but beating a physical disease doesn't. To say that Joker's unique case of insanity is transmittable goes against a core pillar of what Batman has always been about. Batman has always touched upon ideas about the human psyche. Batman is one of the world's greatest and most disciplined minds, hence the important title of world's greatest detective. Rather than facing off against superpowered beings, he fights the criminally insane for the most part. Sometimes characters represent certain personality traits or facets of our minds, and other times they represent disorders like Two-Face does for split personality disorder. To say that Joker's mental illness or madness can be transmitted, like, say, HIV, is a fundamental misunderstanding and misrepresentation of mental illness/madness. As a Batman fan, I take issue with a group of writers telling a story that lacks an understanding of how the mind works when insanity, sanity, and the line between the two are so fundamentally important to the Batman property and touched upon within this very story. This fundamental lack of understanding put on display results in the entire Joker story making no sense. His blood should not have been able to have any effect on people, let alone make them crazy, let alone his particular breed of crazy. It shouldn't have been sped up by the fear toxin, and a biological infection should not have been able to be beaten psychologically by Batman just willing himself to not be diseased. It is incredibly disappointing and quite frankly baffling that in the final entry of a 6-year arc about Joker, this is what Rocksteady and DC were comfortable going with.